Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. Welcome to another edition of Dangle, Bet, Celly, powered by FTN and presented by PointsBet Canada. Chris Meaney and Eric Young here with you for the next little bit. We are just a couple days away from Stanley Cup playoffs. We do now officially know of all 16 teams who will be playing for Lord Stanley, as the Vegas Golden Knights were officially bounced last night. EY, another shootout loss for Vegas.
Unbelievable.
Over the past week and a half, this team has gone to 3 shootouts, and they went 0 for 17 in those shootouts. If you remember the rant that I had a few days ago with them starting with Nicholas Roy, they did not do that the second time around in the shootout against Dallas over the weekend that was on Tuesday. And then last night they went to another shootout against the Blackhawks, 0 for 7 in back-to-back nights. Tuesday and Wednesday combined 0 for 14, 0 for 17 over the last 3 or 4 games. And the Golden Knights are not going to be playing in the Stanley Cup playoffs. If you would have told me that at the start of the season, I would have told you that you indeed are a fantasy hockey psycho, NHL psycho, and that a lot just went wrong in Vegas. And a lot did go wrong in Vegas this year, man. Wow.
Yeah, I can say during my drunken postseason bets at the start of the year, I did not bet on Vegas to do anything. So I guess it's just going to have to be a regular thing for me, and I'm looking forward to next year.
Dude,
it's great.
Not gonna lie.
Dude,
go ahead.
Senators, I was off, but I was spot on LA, spot on in Calgary, spot on in New York Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had New York Islanders not making the playoffs. Obviously, I had Vegas making the playoffs, but I just didn't trust it because I feel like it's happening now. Players playing there are seeing how they're just shipping guys in and out and trying to sign these big money guys and cobble together a team. And there's no loyalty to the players. And I think the players, especially the middle of the road players are feeling the pressure. Can you imagine being Riley Smith? Riley Smith has poured everything into the team. It's been one of their best, if not their best player since bringing him in. And every time his name is brought up, it's like, oh, well, they're just going to dump him because they need that $5 million for somebody else. I mean, that's no way to live. I understand that it's a business, but these are human beings. And that you got to take that into the fact that they were 0 and 17. The players don't care
in the shootout.
The players don't care.
Studs rolling out there. There's a couple things. Jack Eichel's going to take a lot of heat, of course. I'm already seeing it in the 2015 draft. Of course, he's the only player in the top 12 that's yet to play a playoff game. Of course, the Sabres haven't been able to do anything. Down the stretch, he was kind of invisible. He had a brutal giveaway late last night as well. I don't want to put everything on him. I think people will say that. That's what the narrative will be. Jack Eichel. But also, you and I were in lockstep with the whole Fleury thing. We both thought Fleury was the goalie to keep in Vegas. For me, I didn't understand the obsession with Robin Lehner when they acquired him, when they extended him, when they went away from Fleury last year in the third round against the Canadiens to go to Robin Lehner. Lehner wasn't able to stay healthy. Clearly, if he could stay healthy, would have given him a little bit more. But Stone missed a lot of time. Pacioretty missed a lot of time. You mentioned Riley Smith. He was cooking. He was playing really good hockey, and then he was out of the lineup. William Karlsson missed some time. Pietrangelo missed a bit of time. Shea Theodore missed, Alec Martinez. You can go up and down the list and make excuses that this team missed a lot of time. But also, this is the first adversity that they faced over in the 4 years in the league and into the Stanley Cup Finals in their first year, third round in 3 years. They've made the playoffs every year. They've given up a lot of picks. They don't have a lot of prospects, not a lot of top prospects. They've traded a lot of them. Cody Glass, Nick Suzuki. They've traded a lot of these picks over the past couple of years. It feels kind of like their window is right here, which is weird to say. But I also think they're going to make a lot of moves in the offseason to try. They mismanaged the cap, and the whole situation was just a complete shit show all year long, right? Dadonov, let's trade this guy. Oh, right, we're not going to, he has a no trade clause. We can't trade him there. Trying to get under the cap and then forcing some of these players in down the stretch. So it is surprising to see them not in. It's one of my, I'll be honest, we did hit a lot on this show in terms of futures. Florida Panthers win the Atlantic at 5-1, 26-1 to win the Cup, and here they are as one of the favorites. Flames midway through the season at 25-1. Hurricanes before the season. You were on the Rangers to make the playoffs. We both liked LA over 83.5 points this season to get into the playoffs. There's a couple things that I certainly got wrong. One of them was Vegas. I had them as a future. They were one of my
you and everybody else
to start.
I mean,
but I thought this was their year. Right?
There's
Even
not
before
a
the
single
Eichel stuff,
person.
I thought this was their year.
Yeah, there's not a single person that watches hockey, even casually, that didn't think the Vegas Golden Knights were going to make the playoffs at the very least. I mean, then they signed Eichel, and then it's like it almost seems like a guarantee, and they're going to bring all these guys back, and they're going to have $100 million salary, and it's going to be, they're going to be impossible to stop. And in the offseason, everyone's going to be talking about how Vegas won the Cup and it's illegal and the salary cap and the playoffs should be the same as blah, blah, blah. Now we don't have to worry about that because they didn't even make it into the playoffs. What an absolute mess. What a mess. Hey, Vegas Golden Knight fans, welcome to being an NHL hockey fan.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be that good for you all the time. I think you got spoiled with the Kraken. Look at the Seattle Kraken. That's how things should go in your first year in the NHL. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what unfolds with Vegas in the offseason. I'm not the hugest Pete DeBoer fan either. I know he's got some history, but I just don't like some of the decisions that he's made with Vegas over the past couple of years. But we're not here to talk about the Golden Knights. We are here to try to preview tonight's slate in the NHL. There's a handful of games. It is the last show for the regular season. The last Thursday in the NHL, there's a massive slate against tomorrow, and then the NHL officially closes the book on the regular season on Sunday with the Seattle Kraken and the Winnipeg Jets. So we do have 9 games to break down here today.
What a way to close out the season.
Yeah, way to close out the season. Kraken and Kyle Connor, anytime goal, bet it on Sunday. He got the empty net goal yesterday, Pierre-Luc Dubois. Yeah, he scored last night. I selfishly could use a little bit more against the Kraken on Sunday in one of my season-long leagues that should have been wrapped up last week. Make sure you do that if you're moving forward. Don't have your fantasy hockey season go into the final week of the season because as we saw last night, with the New York Rangers resting a bunch of guys. And that's one perk about having the package over at FTNBets.com. You get access to the Discord channel. I see some people hanging out here live on the show. Am the Artist, what up? We got our guy George running the show for us. Adam Rentcamp in the house as well. We got John Francis. And something that happened late last night, well, we knew that Panarin and Andrew Kopp weren't going to play, but just minutes before a puck drop, Mika Zibanejad, Chris Kreider, Adam Fox also ruled out of that game against the Canadiens. Jump inside the Discord channel. Hey, guys, the Habs are plus 190. Maybe consider that with all those guys. And you had to sweat that out. Even with the Rangers resting everybody, I still thought New York outplayed Montreal. But I know you were on that and some of our subs as well. And there's still time to be part of the FTN family. We have the link inside the description of this video bringing you to the FTN Bet Tracker. All bets, all picks from everybody across all sports over at FTNBets.com. Projections, tools, access to all the Discord channels as well. Use the promo code NHL. We'll be with you every single day giving picks, props, totals, sides, futures. I'll have an article live over at FTNBets.com when the regular season wraps up and we have all the matchups there as well. And again, one of the perks is that you can get all the picks from everybody across all the sports. It's NFL Draft Day here today. We are having a live NFL draft show on our FTN YouTube page, which gets underway at 7 Eastern. Myself and Josh Larkey will be with you through the entire first round and tomorrow through rounds 2 and 3. EY is going to make an appearance tonight, talk about his Titans. We got Jake Celly, we got Jeff Ratcliffe, we got Benny Ricciardi, potentially live from MetLife Stadium tonight, which is going to be super cool. Adam Pfeiffer and a whole lot more. Jill Gallant is in there as well. So we got a lot of action happening at FTN. If you guys are hanging out with us here live, like I said, I do see some people in there, Troy in the house as well. Please subscribe to this show, rate, review on iTunes, Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to your favorite podcast. Smash the like button. Let's do our friends over at PointsBet Canada, pointsbet.ca, link inside the description of this video. Let's do them a solid and show them the support that we have thanks to you guys for this show. EY. We do have a couple matchups that we know about. So again, last night we saw the Rangers rest. This is something that certainly could happen tonight with a few teams. We'll walk through this. The Panthers come to mind. A game tonight against Ottawa, a game tonight against Montreal. Already locked in now We know that the Oilers and the Kings are going to play. LA also rested their top line last night. That is a matchup that we know is going to happen. Another matchup we know will happen is Minnesota and St. Louis. We just don't know who will host game one. So those two teams still something to play for. And then it is looking like the Bolts and the Leafs will play in the first round as well. Tampa tonight with a point or a lost point by Boston, and the Bolts will clinch number 3 in the Atlantic. We know the Leafs are locked in to number 2. What do you make about the potential first-round matchup between Toronto and Tampa Bay?
As a lifelong Maple Leafs fan,
you're nervous.
It's just, oh my God. I mean, they can't buy a break, right? They can't. And not that any team has breaks or, but I mean, if I was to choose one team right now in the East that I do not want to play, it's Tampa Bay. And, they were on autopilot. It seemed like in the last month, we definitely discussed it. And I mean, I'm man enough to admit that I was completely wrong. They looked tired. And I think what it was is they're rope-a-doping. You know what I mean? Like they're letting people swing and they're letting people fight and scratch and claw. And they're just coasting, letting them tire themselves out and scratch and claw to get in. And in the last week or two, they have turned it on and looked like the defending Stanley Cup champions. The moves at the deadline, Paul, Hagel, like these guys are world-class players and players that they're going to really lean on. We talked about Ross Colton on Tuesday. He's been unbelievable. Stamkos for the first time in his career, I think I was reading this morning, 100 points. I mean, if you would have asked me about Steven Stamkos last year, I would say he's on the decline. And here he is with the most points he's ever scored. I mean, unbelievable. And you can say whatever you want. Shesterkin may be statistically the best goalie this season, but the best goalie in the NHL is under Vasilevsky. If I have one goalie to play one game that I need to win, that's the goalie I pick every time, without doubt. So, good luck, Toronto. Agree. Good luck.
I think it's going to be pretty good. You're right about the breaks. They haven't had a lot of breaks over the past couple years. I don't want to make too many excuses for them last year. Certainly they ran into Carey Price, but honestly, I thought that they got outplayed in maybe 3 or 4 of the 7 games. Certainly the first game, and then the Leafs went on a roll, and then they didn't handle that pressure. You mentioned Stamkos, just quietly up to 101, right? It's wild this season. We've talked about it a couple times on this show, and picking the 3 Hart Trophy winners, and I do believe Matthews probably has that locked up with him getting to 60. Igor Shesterkin, potentially a top 5 save percentage in all time in NHL history, may not be a finalist. How do you leave Connor McDavid off with 122 points? How do you leave Jonathan Huberdeau 115 points off, the most points ever by a left winger? How about Johnny Hockey with 113 points? Doing things like the biggest plus-minus rating or the most points at 5-on-5 since the mid-90s. Could he be left off the Hart Trophy nominee list? We only could pick 3 guys. Draisaitl's a guy that nobody even talks about, mentioning him as a Hart Trophy candidate. He has a cool 55 goals and 109 points. Matthews is at 106. Kaprizov's at 105. Kachuk 102. Stammer at 101. JT Miller's flirting with 100. Mitch Marner's flirting with 100. Panarin got the day off yesterday. He's not probably going to get to 100. Your boy Roman Josi, 93 points, the most ever by a defenseman since 1996, I believe, with Ray Bourque. 96 or 93, one of the two. I believe 93. Actually maybe 93. Unbelievable season across the board from a lot of big-time players. It's been a fun year. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us throughout. So let's roll through some of these games, try to get a grasp and a feel on what some teams can do. I will say that it is worth waiting to get some news. Like last night, the Canadians turned out to be terrific value with the Rangers resting some players. We may hear some news throughout as morning skates start to happen here. We'll get an idea. Odds will change, but if you're putting down a few bucks here and there, it may not be the end of the day. But if you're a big bettor and you're looking to get sprinkle down a unit or 2 units on certain games, it may be worth waiting it out closer to puck drop. And we will be active in our Discord channel with some DFS stuff in there, new lines that may occur, and we'll try to find some edge and some value. Like last night, Frank Vetrano, plus money for 2.5 shots. Maybe didn't love him, with, a full Ranger squad, but Rangers rested a bunch of guys. He got more ice time. He finished with a goal, your boy, and he did clear 2.5 shots, and he did it early on. Am the artist. Marner getting 100 assists, getting 100 points. He does need 3 points. It's possible. I think they may rest some dudes. I don't know if is it worth it? I heard this conversation last night on one of the broadcasts north of the border. Actually, it was on ESPN. Sorry, it was on Around the Horn, and they asked the panelists. They said, what is an accomplishment that Leafs fans would like to see? The 60 goals, which they already saw, or a first-round playoff matchup, and they all said 60 goals. And I was like, wait, 60 goals is cool. 100 points is awesome, too, for Marner. The Leafs haven't won the Cup in 67. They haven't got past the first round in like 20-plus years. I think they would trade in the 60 goals and the 100 points for Marner for a nice playoff run, but what do I know?
For sure.
I'm not sure.
Was that hockey super genius Stephen A. Smith?
No.
Come on.
But you're not wrong. It's probably him. Daniel H. GM, fellas. Tampa, still a very scary team no one wants to see in the playoffs. You're not wrong
100%.
about that. DJ Bets, Leafs are very unlikely to beat Tampa. You should see a Tampa-Florida second-round matchup. That was to Adam, who's also in the house here. I know EY loves the Leafs, but we need to see Panthers versus Lightning in the second round. That would be phenomenal. We saw that last year in the first round. It was really good. Tampa made quick work of Florida. They didn't get the goaltending. That may be the Achilles heel for the Panthers again. But I also think that Toronto and Florida would be must-watch as well. Let's get after tonight. Let's start in Boston with the Bruins and the Buffalo Sabres. So we have the Bruins checking in as massive home favorites in here. You see minus 341 lines provided by PointsBet.ca. And we have the Buffalo Sabres there. I'm seeing live odds at plus 255, so it's changed slightly with the goal total sitting at 6 across the board. I don't know how you don't sprinkle a little bit on the Buffalo Sabres here. A better record than the Vegas Golden Knights since the Jack Eichel trade. We've talked a lot about the Sabres over the past month or so. Their top line with Tage Thompson, as you see on the board, a nice breakout campaign from him. Alex Tuch, Jeff Skinner, Rasmus Dahlin has been pretty good between the pipes. Do the Bruins rest Patrice Bergeron, Marchand? They've been going back and forth, resting Pasternak and Hampus Lindholm. We said off the top, there is a slight chance, EY, that they could get the third spot and play the Leafs, maybe avoid that first-round matchup with Carolina or that first-round matchup with the Florida Panthers. I think they'll rest some guys. I don't know how you don't take a shot on Buffalo here tonight.
Yeah, I think Buffalo wins this game. They've been, like I was saying, I think last Thursday, there was a stat saying since March, I want to say it was March 21st to now, the Buffalo Sabres were like the 7th or 8th best team in the NHL. They've been really good. I mean, somehow Craig Anderson comes in. He's 75 years old.
I know.
Is playing unbelievable hockey. Tage Thompson is maybe having the biggest breakout season, from a guy that was basically unknown and playing predominantly on the wing to boom. All of a sudden he's centering the top line for Buffalo, who, was just a disaster, like just an absolute disaster at the start of the year. And the putting up totals that nobody, including me, thought he was ever going to. Jeff Skinner looks revitalized. Tuck coming over from Vegas looks like an absolute steal for Buffalo. A hometown guy going home. Often that doesn't work out. It often backfires, but he wanted to play in Buffalo and he's rewarding them by playing unbelievable hockey. Yeah, I think Buffalo wins this game, and I'm going to say Tage Thompson and Jeff Skinner both score here.
Yeah, I love it. I'm not seeing anything on Bruins guys for shot props because I think books are just waiting to see what the news will
Who's
be
going to play,
like.
right?
But yeah, Tage Thompson's at a decent price, minus 165 for 2.5. Skinner's at minus 145 for 2.5. I know the Bruins are really stingy, but they don't really have much to play for. And honestly, if I'm Boston, I'm okay with the matchup first round against Carolina. Carolina's got some question marks in goal. They're not a team that scores a lot of, they generate a lot of offense, but they're not a team that really finds the back of the net all too often. Pass needs one more for 40. If he plays, he scores tonight. I agree. If he does play, he probably scores tonight. He's a guy that we can bank on finding the back of the net more times than not. Keep an eye on him if he does play. Again, he's been kind of going back and forth. He's missed two of the last four, and he hasn't played the back-to-backs, but he could suit up here tonight. past his goal prop we had in the FTN bet tracker, his future prop was at 34.5. He missed a bunch of time and he cruised past that number. He is an elite goal scorer in the NHL. There's a couple other guys here too, like Alex Tuck to have a point, -110. Let's see the big guys. We got Skinner here, -125 for a point. We got Tage Thompson, -130 for a point. That line has been absolutely electric, guys. It's been really, really strong since they've been a trio. And said so many times on this show that they've dominated play against really good teams. It's actually Victor Olofsson who leads the team in points over the last month. He's been quietly very, very good as well down the stretch. Your guy. I feel like that's your guy. When we started to do some shows together a couple years ago, right? 4-stack lines. You talked him up quite a bit, and he was like a league winner for people that year in fantasy hockey.
Ripping power play goals, like they were brutal. But Victor Olofsson that season was a highlight. I mean, I told like we were doing our sleepers and dark horse picks at the start of the year, and that was my number one guy. I was telling everybody this is an unknown guy, but he was going to play important minutes. He was going to be the trigger man on the power play. That's all the reports that were coming out of Buffalo. I'm not saying like, I was there scouting Victor Olofsson, but I mean, everything I was following in the tea leaves because I am a lunatic and I try to consume as much hockey as humanly possible. I don't advise anybody to do that, especially if you're married and if you have kids or you have a life outside of watching hockey. I do not. And basically, like my wrestling schedule, I'm basically unemployed. That's my schedule. So I've got nothing but time. And that makes me really dangerous, really, really dangerous.
I think out of the three, now I gave you guys the top line for the point props. I think all three are actually in play for like individual plays there. But for me, I will lean Tage Thompson. You got him to score, right? We both 37 goals in the season, 67 points. He's got a point here in 6 straight games. He's got at least 2 points in 3 straight, and he's hit the score sheet in 10 of his last 11 games. 10 of his last 11, and he may get a watered-down Boston team here tonight. So we're both on the Buffalo Sabres. Daniel, I hear you, EY. I get seasonal layoff too with my work, so hockey all the time. Okay, Ottawa and Florida. What do you do here? Again, this is a situation where I feel like the Panthers may rest some guys. They rested a few in the game before, but it wasn't their superstars. I think they had Marchment who rested. We do know that Lundell is not going to play tonight. He's dealing with an injury. He's going to be ruled out of the final 2 games. Radko Gudas is going to be ruled out of the final 2 games. He's not going to play either, suffering an injury. I could see like Mackenzie Weegar taking a seat tonight. Maybe Gustav Forsling taking a seat tonight. Maybe even a Ben Sherratt, just resting these guys. The Panthers really don't have anything to play for. Are they shooting for the President's Trophy? I guess they are. They're 2 points up on the Avs. Both teams have 2 games remaining. I think Florida could potentially lock that down with a win tonight. They could beat the Sens or the Habs tomorrow, or even resting a bunch of guys. But this could be a situation here tonight, EY, where we may not see a Huberdeau. We may not see a Barkov. I think that's something to certainly monitor tonight. And with that said, would you back your Sens here tonight? We can get them on home ice at +185 over at PointsBet.
Yeah, I feel like they've been playing some pretty uninspiring hockey. I mean, a lot of people in the NHL call it vacation mode. They're planning their trips. They know that they're done. I mean, it doesn't matter if they win every game, if they score 1 million goals, nothing is going to matter. They're still out of the playoffs. Nobody there is really playing for any kind of milestone. I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? It's hockey that just doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. That doesn't mean the players aren't going to show up and try to score. These guys are all psychopaths. They're all crazy competitive, which is why they play in the NHL. I think Florida wins this game. But I mean, because of we don't know who's going to play and who's not. I'm going to circle back around at the end before the game start and maybe put a couple goal scorers down. I would lean maybe Reinhardt. I think he still plays, and I think he'll center the top line and play on that top power play. So if I was going to bet, I would bet on Reinhardt. But I'm going to put a little bit down on Stützle to score and Tkachuk to score. Spencer Knight's going to play this game. They're going to rest players. They're in autopilot for Florida. It doesn't matter. It's just they're just going to go through the motions. I think Florida still wins this game, but I'm not betting on Ottawa to win, but they very well could. I mean, look, if you're betting on hockey games today, you're insane.
I love it though. I'm gonna do it.
I'm doing it as we speak. I'm doing it as we speak. But that's the job, and we're talking about it. A lot of it is interesting. And I mean, honestly, the Montreal bet last night, I definitely was down, and I'm back up to I've made pretty good money over the course of the year. My bankroll, and a big help of that was I put a big bet on Montreal to win, and they did. It made me sweat.
How about the Habs? Locked in last spot. They have so many records. Like, it's a rich franchise. They have so many accolades. How about the first ever NHL team to finish 32nd? That's one that they can put down on their resume.
Yep, mark it down.
18.5% chance at Shane Wright. Paying for Shane. Give him to me. I like the Senators' calls there. Stützle and Drake as guys that long shot guys, plus money guys that I have down here for 3 shots. That guys that I think could find the back of the net here today. Barkov is one away from 40. I think that is a milestone that he probably wants. It's the
they
big
probably leave it up to him, right? They probably say,
exactly.
Our choice is you're not going to play, but if you want to play, we'll allow it.
One of the two, tonight or tomorrow. You're not playing both. That's what I would say. You got tonight to get it done. And if he suits up tonight, I could see him trying to get to 40.
Definitely.
And boys trying to set him up. So Barkov 100%. Is like an anytime goal or over 2.5 shots or something like that is something that I would consider. I'm seeing him plus 150 for 2 points. That's a bit much, but 2.5 shots. Let's see what that price is. He's not even on the board. See, there's not a lot on the board here today, guys, just because we just they don't know who's going to play, and they're thinking too, like, what's going to happen. Daniel did that too. Montreal money line last night absolutely wins. They've been the Habs have actually been pretty good to us all year. We had the under 89.5 points. We had that like midway through the season. And we've been picking on them all year on the puck line, and then kind of rode them a little bit with Caulfield and St. Louis behind the bench. And then last night they certainly were good to us at plus 190. So you like Stützle, I like Drake. I'm going to put Barkov down here if he does play for a goal or for him to have 3 shots to try to chase that milestone. I don't think there's really bet Barkov goal. He gets it early and then he sits. Yeah, I like that call there. And man. Like, how about Reinhart? You mentioned Reinhart, just 32 goals and 80 points, career years across the board for these guys. There are certain players that I don't think will sit, like an Anthony Duclair. I don't feel like will sit. It's no disrespect to Duclair, but he's gonna play. The guys that would sit would be Barkov and Huberdeau, or maybe a Sam Bennett, right? Just you want to have those guys certainly healthy and ready to go. Troy, do you guys think Barkov can have the most points in the NHL next year? I mean, sure, he's one of the most underrated players in the entire league, but I don't know if I view him as like a 125-point guy, and that's probably what he needs to do. I mean, we see McDavid get there. I put a little sprinkle down as a future heart bet on Barkov. It's tough when they're just so talented across the board that would he really stand out? And he didn't. It's tough to say. Like, Huberdeau's has been so good this year, and so many other guys are really good on that team. It's tough for one individual to really stand out and win Hart. But I wouldn't be shocked, man, if we saw it next year and is a guy who's leading the team at points. But an unbelievable season from him, 88 points, and yet he's 25, 27 behind Huberdeau. So it's tough.
Huberdeau, I mean, it's being swept under the rug. Like, think about the unbelievable left wingers that have played in this league over the course of its history. Most points by a left winger. Like, you could vote him for Hart and you wouldn't be wrong. Like, the Hart Trophy this year is insane. It's the most competitive I think I can ever remember it. And I've been following hockey since I was 5. Yeah. I mean, not like I do now because the information just wasn't there, but over the last 10 years, just been like consuming it like a lunatic. And I mean, maybe the best season by a left winger of all time. And that happened this season.
I know. And he broke that left winger assist record early on, like a month ago or something like that. Yeah, it's and I can't tell you with confidence who those 3 not Hart nominees would be. I just can't. I think it's going to be McDavid, Matthews, and I would put Igor in there. But man, what Johnny Hockey's done is like,
plus minus is a bogus stat.
Sure,
but when it's that high, like when it's that high and you're playing that many minutes, like it is something to talk about. And for a guy that was like up until this year was considered a defensive liability, right?
Sure. Yeah,
A
the even
liability.
strength points is really nice. I agree. The plus minus is whatever, but also like he had a big part in Tkachuk hitting the century mark. Matthew Tkachuk, really good player, but nobody saw him hitting the century mark. And Elias Lindholm, 40 goals, like that's Johnny Hockey written all over it. Okay, let's continue here. I see the Devon Taves mentioned in there, high plus minus. I mean, when you play for the Avs, you're gonna be on the ice when they score goals more times than not. When it's in the back of your net, Avs are loaded. And you know what? I think a good break for Colorado not to have to face Vegas too, right? I know that we're talking about Vegas and they couldn't get it done down the stretch, but that's a team that I feel like could have flipped the switch as well, and that would have been an awesome first round matchup. All right, Carolina and New Jersey in here next. This is I feel like we will see the Hurricanes rest some guys in this game. This is their final game of the regular season. 114 points are locked up into first in the Metro. Most likely, I think, going to play Boston or Tampa. Washington could catch Pittsburgh for the final spot in the Metro. So Pittsburgh and Washington could flip-flop with one of those teams playing Florida. I feel like it's going to be Carolina and Boston. I'm pretty confident saying that that's going to be a first-round matchup. So we could see a bunch of guys rest here. It doesn't really make me feel good about the Devils, even if Aho and Svechnikov don't play here tonight or Tony DeAngelo takes a rest. I don't know if I can get behind the Devils to win this game regardless. So I may just cross off a lot here on my list. If I'm looking for an outside play, maybe a Max Domi, a Martin Necas, if Vince Trocheck plays, like these are guys that maybe I would look at to score or hit the score sheet tonight against the Devils. You called it the other day when the Devils played. We were both, I think, on the over, and we liked the Sabres. I believe that was a matchup. We talked about Mackenzie Blackwood, his first game in a long time, and he looked pretty bad, which is expected, and this Devils team doesn't have a lot to offer. It's the first of a back-to-back. They could go Hyman here tonight, or they could roll out Blackwood again. Daniel says Ranta is confirmed in net. That doesn't surprise me. They need to get him in. He needs to get another rep or two. I think this team is in trouble in the playoffs, honestly, but I'm just kind of crossing this game off my list, man. I don't see a lot that I like here tonight.
Too many unknowns. I mean, like it's hard to say. I mean, all the games are unknowns because we don't know who's going to play, who's not. The reality is it's the last or the second last game of the season. Not a ton of people have a lot to play for. It's autopilot time for a lot of these players. I think if Taro Teravainen plays, he's a player. We've talked about him quietly having an unbelievable season, playing wing on that top line and playing on the top power play. And New Jersey can win this game. I mean, the Canes don't have a lot to play for. Going through the games, I have written down that New Jersey will win, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, dude, like there's so much value on the board here tonight. We talked about Buffalo with Boston resting so many guys, and the Carolina. Yep. If I'm Rod Brendamore in the final game of the regular season, Aho, Teravainen, Svechnikov, and DeAngelo, you're not playing tonight. You are not suiting up tonight. Aho especially, and Svechnikov. Like these two guys cannot play tonight. You can't risk an injury your season's ruined. Like you can't risk an injury on the final day of the season when nothing matters at all. And even sometimes going out there and playing loose, maybe not finishing your check or just playing too loose, saying, I'm just going to go through the motions here. That, you could fall into trouble in that as well. So I don't hate the Devils' long shot here. If we get news like that, again, you got to be on it. You follow FTN alerts. You're in the FTN Discord channel. When we hear these kind of things, we jump in and we get those odds right away. Because if we hear that all these Carolina players are not going to play, you're not going to get plus 250. That could jump down still to plus 180, which is still a pretty good value. But there are a couple guys here that I do want to throw out. Again, if you're playing DFS, or if you're looking for like a long shot for a point that you could probably get plus money, I will say Trocheck, Martin Necas, and then maybe Max Domi. I know that Max Domi's had a bit of a, not a great year. He hasn't actually been great since he left Montreal. But I have noticed that over the past couple weeks, maybe a little bit more ice time from Max Domi. and he's kind of hitting the score sheet just a little bit. He's got 2 goals in his last 5. He had a game with 4 shots against the Islanders. He's only playing like 12 minutes, but he could be a guy that could flirt up to maybe 17 minutes or so. Daniel H., like what you said, and HS maybe gets line 1. So maybe take a look at him. He'd be a guy that I think could suit up here tonight. All right, Columbus and Tampa in here next. Blue Jackets are at home. We talked about the Tampa Bay Lightning off the top and how they're cooking, they're rolling here. So they do have something to play for here tonight. Just again, with 1 point or Boston not getting a point, they would lock in number 3 in the Atlantic and have that matchup with the Toronto Maple Leafs. With that said, again, this is another spot where I wouldn't be shocked if maybe just a little bit of rest for certain players. We don't know which guys are nicked up, right? You know, we could see Brayden Point could be playing with something. It's very possible, again. But if Stammer plays and Kucherov plays, I think we can go back to the well. A great call by you on Tuesday for Stamkos to score. We had his over 2.5 shots. We had Kucherov over 1.5 points for plus 140. I think those guys are just feeling it right now that if they do suit up, I think we go right back to them, EY.
Yeah, I would say that too. Tampa Bay, whether they sit a few players, left wing lock has got Vasilevsky as starting. I'm not betting against the Tampa Bay Lightning. It doesn't matter who they sit. This is a deep team. You got guys like Ross Colton scored what does he score? 10 goals in his last 11 games or whatever it is. Like they're insane. And I just wanted to circle back real quick. Yeah. This is a crazy day, so we're doing some crazy things. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm just telling you that I did it. Plus 1,034 Buffalo and New Jersey to win 2-team parlay. Let's do it.
Man, I like that. You got to get weird at this time of the year. I dig that.
It is weird. Wow. Everything's weird. If you're going to make weird bets, go with your gut and just let her rip. Let her rip.
Yeah. Today. And if you wanted to even, I agree, let her rip. But if you wanted to take a conservative approach too and just do Florida or do Buffalo and New Jersey not to lose by 2, that's 3-1. Like that's plus 310. That's not even bad. But I'm with you. I would like to take them both on the money line, and then that is, oh my goodness. Use the prop shop parlay calculator over at ftnbets.com. Check out pointsbet.ca for the latest lines. But you said 10-1, 11-1. That's pretty interesting in there. DJ Bets likes it, right? We are here for some dogs. Maybe we just sprinkle like 0.25 units on a couple random parlays or a couple dogs, and we have some playoff cash to work with in here. I love the Seth Jarvis call. 6 shots in the last game. Adam, he was one of those guys as well. Yeah. DJ, just swipe, he says. But yeah, Seth Jarvis was one of those guys that I was looking at as well. Domi, guys like 1.5 shots. You can get some value on certain guys here. Tonight. Yeah, Stammer 2.5, Kucherov maybe 1.5. You mentioned Colton. He's an interesting guy. He's been pretty good lately. Nick Paul, right? Getting an opportunity to play in a top 6 role. How about Nick Paul? And this is the reason the Lightning are so scary. And the reason that they were really scared of the past couple of years is like their third line. That third line with Goudreau and Gord and Coleman. And then they acquire Nick Paul, Hag from Chicago. Colton, you mentioned, is playing really good. Nick Paul has hit the score sheet in 4 straight games, 5 of his last 6, 8 of his last 11. What? Right? Like, this is just another guy that can contribute. And yeah, the Lightning are going to be super scary yet again. It's unbelievable. If they win another cup, it's definitely the impressive run that I've ever seen. Like, I wasn't alive when the Islanders and the Oilers went back, like when they went through those runs. I wasn't around for that sort of stuff. I get Detroit went through, a bit of a dynasty there, and the Penguins Chicago had a bit of a run, and Chicago and LA kind of traded cups. But to do 3 in a row with the shortened off seasons and to keep the madness
of the madness of COVID, the fact that they've got, Kucherov is a $10 million player, like. It's crazy. I mean, it might be one of the most impressive things in professional sports, what they're doing right now with the salary cap, the madness of the COVID schedule. And it wouldn't surprise me or probably anybody if they win it again.
No, I know. And it's not like they've been building super teams. They drafted really well. It's not like super players. It's not like Vegas, right? Give me Pacioretty, give me Stone, give me Eichel, give me Pietrangelo. Like, that's a team
the
that
core of their team was drafted and developed by them.
Yeah.
Vasilevsky drafted and developed by them. Hedman drafted and developed by them. You know, like Kucherov, Point, Stamkos, all those players drafted and developed by
Vasilevsky,
them.
Palat.
Yep. Sergachev, who's unreal.
Killorn, the list goes on and on. Yeah, it really does. Okay, so if the boys play, the Tampa guys, we got to get on board. Again, still something to play here. It's they do have one more game after this one, right? Yes, they do. So they could just take care of business tonight, get the point on the road against the Blue Jackets, and then rest in that final game. Okay, so we do like a lot of Tampa guys in there, but you could take some shots on maybe Colton, Nick Paul, Palat, Killorn. These guys have certain studs do sit for Tampa Bay. The Islanders and Washington in here, so this is not much happening here in this one. Again, Washington, I suppose the Capitals would like to have that matchup against the Rangers as opposed to having that matchup against the Florida Panthers in the first round here tonight. I don't know if it's worth playing Alexander Ovechkin over it. So this is another one where you just have to kind of keep an eye on things. These two teams played just the other day, and it was the Islanders, right, that had their way with Washington. I don't know if Brock Nelson is going to play. Nelson didn't suit up in that last game. It was a 4-1 victory for the New York Islanders. So I don't know, man. Like, this is another one where I would assume the big boys play apart from Ovi, just to kind of get into that third spot potentially, but you're going to have to really monitor. I don't have a strong feel. Even if Washington rests a bunch of guys, I don't know if I'm into laying the juice on the Islanders. Actually, they're home dogs, but I don't think I'm into it.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I wrote down that the Islanders win here, and that's because Sorokin. I mean, the Islanders have been brutal, and Sorokin has just got better and better. Like the worse the Islanders got, the better he got. I mean, if you look at his stats since basically March to now, it's insane, right? The stuff that he's been doing on just a Zdeno Chara playing not on the number one. I mean, just can barely move. He's in slow motion. Like, and just not a great team this year. Rough with the schedule and all the other stuff. COVID hit them real bad at the wrong times. I still think that they're a competitive team. Barry Trotz, I think, is one of the best coaches in the league. But Sorokin has been crazy good on a really bad team.
Yeah. It's been a rough year for the Islanders. Like 3 of those 4 teams in the Final Four in the NHL, right? Vegas not making the playoffs. Islanders not getting over that slow start on the road. And then the Habs, of course. We knew the Habs weren't going to make the playoffs. But 3 of the 4 not around. I think I can get behind the under 6. I just looked up on the fly. Ovechkin is traveling with the Caps on the 2-game road trip, so it's possible he could suit up. But this is a game maybe you wait. But if Ovi doesn't play, Kuznetsov doesn't play, Carlson sits, Brock Nelson doesn't play, Sorokin's in between the pipes. Under 6 is a bet that I could get behind, even though I don't like a lot of unders. And I put in 2 unders last night, and I got burned. That's why I don't bet unders. I get burned by that sort of stuff. No fun.
It's no fun.
I don't want to root for no goals.
Bet on something else. It's more fun.
Bet on something else. Okay. Minnesota and Calgary in here next. I do believe that the Flames will roll out Markstrom. I don't think anything is confirmed, but they didn't have Markstrom between the pipes last night or the game before that the Flames played. I guess that was the one against your Preds where Calgary did squeak out a dub. So they have 2 games here. They also play tomorrow. I feel like Markstrom will go tonight, and then he'll sit tomorrow night, and then Minnesota also doing the back-to-back here tonight. It should be a good one. I feel like there may be some playoff intensity here. Again, another situation where it's possible the Flames rest some of their guys. They're locked into number 1, 110 points. But Minnesota does have something to play for here on home ice. Home ice is absolutely key for them and the Blues. And they have a game in hand, and they're tied with the Blues at 109. So if they can get a point here tonight or a victory, they will lock in number 2. And for me, that is the reason. I know George is probably rolling his eyes that I am going to back the Minnesota Wild here tonight. And I'll be honest, it's a little tough for me because these are 2 of my favorite teams. I both think they're legitimate Stanley Cup contenders. I both think that they can go on a serious run. I like the path more for Calgary than I do Minnesota, where Minnesota would have to play St. Louis and then a matchup with Colorado, where Calgary would just Dallas or Nashville and then Edmonton or LA. I think that path is nicer. I'm going to back Meaney on home ice. But again, another game where you may want to keep an eye on the situation, what Calgary does with some of their players.
Yeah, I mean, this is two of my favorite teams. I think Calgary may be my favorite team to watch just because of how aggressive they are. Like when I mean aggressive, I don't mean crazy physical or like they just skate like lunatics. It seems like there's always two guys on every puck, no matter where it is on the ice, no matter if they're on the penalty kill. It's just there's no passiveness to their game, and that's the kind of hockey I really like to watch. It's not that they're not defensive. It's just they're using their aggression to be defensive, and you just don't have time with the puck when playing them. And when you do, then you got to get it past Markstrom, who is top 5 goalie in the league. He plays tonight. I think Calgary wins this game. I think it's going to be a statement for them. Yeah, I mean, as far as goal scorers, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think they kind of play everybody, but at this point, there's just no knowing. I mean, Daryl Sutter is playing for the playoffs. I mean, he doesn't care about personal totals. He said that he doesn't care about any of that. He cares about winning the Stanley Cup. And I mean, obviously this team from where they were last year to now, tip of the cap to Daryl Sutter, who didn't even watch hockey and like lived on a farm. And now he's one of the best coaches in the league.
I love that guy. Yeah. When he was asked about Colorado, he's like, you don't want to come last in the wild card spot because it's going to be a quick few days for you. Yeah. You know what? With the back-to-back tomorrow in Winnipeg as a playoff tune-up, right? I think that we could see a full Calgary squad here tonight. We could potentially see that. The tune-up, playoffs, right? Everything on the line. Minnesota playing for something. And then rest your guys tomorrow against the Jets. We did see a comment from John Francis, the first one to start the show, on Dylan Dubé. He did score 2 goals in his last game, and he has 8 in his last 7. So he's a guy that is heating up and maybe a guy that would get a little bit more ice time if they were to rest some of their players. But yeah, he does get some time on the power play in the second unit. He does have 2 power play goals over the last 2 weeks of the season. I am seeing Flames guys for shots, and so maybe they are going to roll with some of their dudes here tonight. Andrew Mangiapane is interesting to me. He's juiced up at -160 for 2 shots. He's been stuck on 1 in each of his last 2 games, but before that, he had 7 games in a row where he had at least 2 shots. And in 4 of those games, he had at least 3 shots. So I don't mind him as a single, like a Mangiapane 1.5. Maybe you can chuck that into some parlays. Keep an eye on that. This should be an entertaining game. It should be really, really fun. I do have that lean to Minnesota, though, on home ice. But yeah, it should be a really, really good game here today. You're on Calgary. Don't hate that. Fiala was a no-go. I put him in the tracker at +175 for 2 points last game, and he didn't even have a shot. It's like, wow, what happened to Fiala? It was the rare game. He had a massive point streak. I think he had like 7 or 8 multi-point games over the point streak that he was on. So maybe he gets back after it tonight. If you're picking a wild player to score a goal here tonight, would it be Fiala, Boldy? Those are 2 guys that I like. 2 guys I like to look at.
Yeah, I think I probably picked Boldy because of who he is and where he plays, and also I feel like he's been sneaky. Like, I mean, it felt like he dropped off there. Then he's made this kind of resurgence, is starting to score again, and the odds, right? Like just the number, the number the positive number you're going to get if he scores, it's rewarding. So yeah, if I was going to pick a Minnesota guy, I would pick him, and I think if I'm going to pick a Calgary guy, I'm gonna pick Tkachuk. He's a lunatic at this time of year. He's just motivated. Yeah,
he's having a hell of a season. I was just looking to see if we can get Boldy points here. Boldy's -130 for a point. Maybe not. Doesn't really seem fantastic, especially when you see some of these Buffalo guys who are on good runs. But Boldy has a point in 9 straight games. Most of them are assists. He's got 3 goals over that span, but he's got points in 9 straight. After missing a couple and returning back to the lineup, and he's got 12 shots in his last 2 games. So you probably could find him at like +135 or something like that later on in the day for 3 shots. Daniel H. Fiala trolled me so hard. Yes. And then the Stars, the under, it looked like the under was good. George, is George trolling me? Is what's happening on the show? Why are you doing this to me? Means Marc-Andre Fleury did look awful last time out, but I think he'll be the guy to start. Maybe not tonight, but game 1 for the Wild. And yeah, classic means trolling. Thanks, guys. Arizona, something about Arizona. George, like when he bets against Arizona, they find a way to win. But I tell him like they're not great. He just found ways to win lately, and on nights where he takes them or he bets against
their comeback win just buckled me last
pretty
night.
Remarkable. Yeah,
me
too. I was hoping that they would just come back in regulation and we get a nice playoff stretch or a nice like just drama. I wanted drama. All right, we're almost through this slate. We got 3 more here. Nashville and Colorado. So concerns, I guess, with UC Saros. Is this he's not going to play here tonight. He's dealing with a lower body injury, maybe in danger of missing time during Nashville's first round playoff series. That's from Frank Saravalli of the Daily Faceoff. Man, tough. That's tough. Plus 190 here on the road. I guess the only thing really that the Avs do have to play for here tonight, I suppose, if they really want the President's Trophy. I mean, they've been there, they've done that. I don't think it's totally necessary, but it does sound like, we could see some of their star players return here soon, like Mikko Rantanen, skated on his own on Tuesday. According to Bednar, head coach of the Avs, he's, quote, gearing up to play here tonight against the Preds. Gabriel Landeskog has missed quite some time, but he's not going to play the last couple of games of the regular season, but he is expected to be ready for game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, I mean, Nashville's locked in. I could see them resting some guys here tonight as well, but UC Saros, man, they're really going to need him if they want to upset the Flames of the Avs in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, it's super unfortunate for this team. Super unfortunate for me as a person that follows this team religiously. Have my playoff tickets. I will be there for every playoff game. But with no Saros, it makes it difficult. Like we talked before going on the show, like we've seen backups come in and play super inspired hockey. A lot of times, the players, kind of find that extra gear. Block more shots, push the play to the outside more because they don't have the trust that they do in the backup that they do in the starters. So it's scary playing. Is it set? They're playing Calgary. Is that set?
No, it's not set. It's it's tight. Dallas has got 96 points in the first wildcard spot with a game in hand or 1 game left, and Nashville's got 95 with 2 games left. So if they could find a way to, if they win out, they would avoid Colorado and they would get Calgary. But if they lose here tonight with Dallas's last game against the Ducks and UC Saros hurt, this could potentially be a first round matchup.
Yeah, it's Colorado.
If the playoffs started today, it would be a first round matchup.
I if I'm betting, and I am, that's kind of what we're doing here. I'm betting Colorado to win. But I will watch every second of this game and be very intrigued to see what happens. Saros looked very injured. It looked like he could barely walk. It sucks, man. It sucks. It sucks. There's just no way around it. You feel for him. You feel for the franchise. You feel for the coaches and the players. They battled so hard. Not a lot of people were, even seeing them in the playoffs. They snuck in. They're in the playoffs no matter what. They've clinched. But they're going to play Calgary or Colorado. Good luck with that. I mean, those are two unbelievable teams. I don't, I wouldn't want to play either of them.
No.
So we'll see what happens, though.
There is something to be said about Colorado, though. They haven't got past the second round in a few years. They've been favored for the past few years, and this is a team that has stumbled in the second round, even with Nathan McKinnon being phenomenal. I think from a point-per-game standpoint in the playoffs, I think he's like 4th all-time in the NHL. Now, it's a small sample size, but he's been absolutely electric in the postseason. And Calgary, I just think Nashville is you've said it so many times and I agree with you. Nashville's a really tough team to play against, especially 5-on-5. They have some goal scorers. They have some guys that are having career seasons. Of course, Yossi in the back end, but Saros is the key. The backbone to that team has kept him in a lot of games. So they would really need him. To roll. Yeah, minus 250 Colorado money line is a little tough to kind of get behind. I do think that they win this game here today with the boost from, I'm seeing minus 260 over at PointsBet. The boost with Mikko returning to the lineup, potential first round matchup. They kind of want to bring it, show the Preds what they have there. Yeah, it's tough. I think you got to keep an eye on this situation. I think Nashville could rest some guys, but either way, Calgary or Colorado is going to be really tough. But if you could avoid the Avs, I think that's the way to go. If you can beat them here tonight, you get a little bit of confidence, and potentially you could move on, move up and maybe avoid them. So, Nichushkin's my guy for me. 2.5 shots. Didn't see him last time. With Mikko Rantanen returning to the lineup, I do expect him to come on that top line. And then, actually, Nichushkin's your guy. My bad. You've been talking about him forever, but Nichushkin's been pretty good. 2.5 shots. I mean, my goodness, you can go back and look at the back of the hockey card for Nichushkin. He's had at least 3 shots in 6 straight games. He's been stuck on 4 in 5 of those 6, and he's cleared 2.5 in 8 of his last 9 games. He's playing getting a lot of ice time. Really a nice breakout campaign. Everything's worked out for him beautifully here in Colorado, so I do like him. And then your boy Duchesne, right? Duchesne is another guy. I think you were on Forsberg. I was on Duchesne. They both had really strong games the last time out, so I think those 2 guys are players to take a look at as well. These last 2 games, really nothing to play for. We got Edmonton and San Jose and LA and Vancouver. So the Oilers are on home ice here tonight against the Sharks. We do know that this is a first-round matchup. I suppose they, one more win here, lock up a couple more points, and then they'll host the Kings. LA has 98 points with 1 game remaining, and the Oilers have 100 points with 2 games remaining. And they are massive, massive home favorites here today. The odds have changed just a little bit over at PointsBet. You can get them at minus 315 here now. The Sharks have been playing spoiler for the past few games. They've been getting some offense from Timo Meier, of course. Some decent goaltending as well from Kakkonen. He's been good, man. Yep. The last game wasn't great, but he's been pretty stellar. I don't know if the Oilers rest here. I think that they probably rest tomorrow. I think they maybe just get the W, get the point. Lock up home ice advantage in that first round. It's hard to kind of back them at that price, but I feel like they'll play their guys here tonight. Do you have a lean on anything?
Yeah, I'm leaning Edmonton. I think, just because of the turbulent couple years for them, they have a lot to prove. They want to lock up that home ice. And the reality is that San Jose has nothing to play for. They've been playing spoiler. I think they come out and they play hard like they have been. But the reality is Edmonton is really clicking right now. It's kind of cool to see. I mean, they've got 2 of the top 5 players in the world somehow magically on one team. Because they've been bad for so long. The Evander Kane addition has been a real win for them. Whether he's a pain in the ass in their locker room or not, I don't know. But you haven't heard anything like that. He's been playing really, really well. He fits perfect his physicality. The fact that he likes to shoot the puck and is very, very good at him playing on that line has been just a match made in heaven. And you hope that he can keep straight and they can roll Zach Hyman having a career year. I knew that he would do well. He's a player that I loved in Toronto and a kind of player that they needed who, he's not a tough guy, but he's just a pain in the ass, right? He's hard on every puck. He's chasing every puck. He's going into all the corners. He just absolutely relentless. And that's what they needed. And they're looking pretty decent. And Mike Smith, here we go. He's been good. He's been good. They've been up and down all year. But when Mike Smith is on, and this is how he's been his whole career. When he's good, he looks unbeatable. And I don't think he's at that point at this point in his career and his age. But when he gets on and he gets on a roll, which he's on right now, and they've been managing his playing really well because of his age, mixing in Koskinen, who's been decent as well. So, yeah, I think Edmonton wins here. As far as I think you're right. I think they play everybody tonight. But, yeah, I don't know as far as goal scorers. I might put, a little bit on Evander Kane to score tonight.
Yeah, I think you should. The chat seems to like the Sharks. Which, if you're looking for a dog, it's another one that could be in play. But I think, just Edmonton on home ice here tonight and a game tomorrow against the Canucks. Like you said, I think that they take care of business on home ice. I think the over is the play. And if the Oilers roll out a full squad, I'm probably going to take them on the puck line. I'm kind of getting away from puck line bets today. Maybe I like reverse puck line a little bit more. Teams not to lose by 2 rather than teams to win by 2. But I am the artist and Daniel H. You guys are super sharp. I just feel like Edmonton takes care of business on home ice, lock down that first round playoff matchup at home. You don't want to be going to LA. Just take care of business tonight. I really do like Evander Kane. In the bet tracker in the last game, we had plus 175 for an assist and minus 145 for a point. He leads the Oilers in goals over the last 2 weeks with 6 and shots with 28. Over his last few games, he's riding a 4-game goal streak where he's got 6 goals over that span, and he's riding a 6-game point streak where he has, quick math, 10 points over that span. His last few games, 5 shots, 7, 6, and 4. He's plus 320 for 4 shots tonight. We can have fun with the revenge narrative all we want, but he's just been shooting. He's feeling it. He's playing. He's had moments, of course, over the course of his career where he's played like a top goal scorer in the NHL, in my opinion.
Yep.
But he's playing terrific hockey right now with the Oilers. This is exactly what Edmonton needed. We said this on Tuesday. Looked a little soft in the playoffs last year. People were picking on McDavid. McDavid was crying about not getting the penalties, and what were the Oilers going to do about it? Evander Kane is a difference maker, especially in the playoffs. If he can keep his cool and not take stupid penalties, people won't mess around with McDavid. I love the addition of Hyman as well, as a guy that just kind of gets in there, throws his body around, is a tough player to play against as well. What I really noticed about Evander Kane was that battle against Minnesota a couple weeks ago, when Kaprizov went at Calgary Yamamoto. Kaprizov, right? If you're going to pick on the Oilers' smallest player as a superstar, you're going to get it. And Kane went right after him. And Ryan Hartman went after Kane and tried to, get after him. But I thought that Kane did nothing wrong. Kane is sticking up for one of his teammates there. And he sees an opportunity to go at a guy like Kaprizov, who started that mess. He's going to do it, and that's the difference that I feel like the Oilers are a different team. They're going to be tougher to play against in the playoffs. I saw the question from DJ Bets. If you would have asked me a month ago, I would have told you I thought the Kings could win, and they could win. But with no Drew Doughty, and he's not going to come back, there's so many holes on the blue line for LA. I think the goaltending is a wash. If Quick can turn the clock back and Smith can turn the clock back, it could be a nice little duo. But I think the Oilers are clicking at the right time. I love the additions. I don't think that they're going to get past Calgary. I don't feel like that's going to happen. But I think that they're going to win around this year. I think I give them the benefit of the doubt against the Kings, EY.
Yeah, I think I would too. I like this Kings team. I bet on them to make it into the playoffs and to play for the Stanley Cup. I mean, that's an insane bet. It's mostly just about the odds and the fact that they got Kopitar, they got Deneau, they got Byfield. They're really strong down the middle of the ice. Who's the guy that plays with Doughty?
Jersey?
Good. No, not Jersey. God, he played. Dude, I can't remember his name. I can see his face. Anyways, that pairing was pretty. I mean, it didn't look like it was going to be much. Doughty had not a great year last year.
Mikey
Anderson. Yeah, and he's back for them. So I think that's a boost for them. He's had a really, really good year. And the reality is this: is Quick is playing unbelievable hockey. Patterson has been good. That's going to be the goalie of the future. But Quick said, well, he's the goalie of the future, but he's not the goalie yet. And Quick has had a really good bounce back season. He gets dialed in. We've seen that before in the playoffs from him. He gets dialed in. They're going to be a tough team to beat.
Yeah, it should be a really good matchup. I mean, that's the reason I was kind of leaning like LA upset, was just because of what you said with Kopitar and Deneau. We saw what Deneau did last year against some really good forwards. He's going to have his hands full against McDavid, but he's done a great job. He did a fantastic job last year playing the Oilers quite a bit, and he shut down McDavid more times than not. He's a terrific two-way forward. Just so I wanted to just hammer home Kane before we move on from here. You can't get plus 175 for an assist tonight, but you can get plus 140. Plus 140 for an assist. He's feeling it right now. Minus 179 for a point is a bit steep, but maybe you put that into a parlay. And plus 130 for 4 shots. I do like Kane here tonight. And we'll wrap up the show with LA and Vancouver. So LA rested, basically their top line last night. Kopitar, Kempe, Iafallo didn't play. I think Dustin Brown, took a seat. He didn't play. He hasn't been the same. I mean, at the start of the season, we were loving Dustin Brown and shot props and stuff, but he hasn't been the same sort of dude. He's hurt now, so he's missed a couple games. Tonight could be the opposite, where maybe they let Kopitar, Kempe, and Iafallo play and potentially rest Deneau more and Arvidsson. I could certainly see that happening here this evening. The Canucks are not going to rest anybody, so I think this is a pretty good price at minus 125 for the Canucks at home. It's one of the games I think I can get behind here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know if Vancouver doesn't have a ton to play for. There's they really pushed the Bruce Boudreau thing. Like, is he going to be the coach next year? That sounds like nonsense to me. I mean, he better be.
Oh yeah.
Or if I was a Vancouver fan, I'd be burning the arena down. Um, that was a joke. I mean, I wouldn't really burn it down. I'd think about it. But yeah, I think LA wins tonight. I think that they statistically that they are where they are. They don't have a lot to play for, but they're clinched. They're getting Mikey Anderson back tonight. I believe that LA wins this game, and I think they win it handily. That's a gut feeling.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I feel, and
it feels like they don't care at all about home ice, just with resting their guys last night. Which I'm fine with that. With players, with teams resting their guys, like whatever, right? We'd rather go into the playoffs healthy.
Yep, especially with their banged up.
There?
Yeah, if I was going to say, I would go Victor Arvidsson. That's the only one. That line has been really good. He shoots the puck a ton, and the fact that I'm finding him at +210 to score, so that would be my guy.
Nice, love it. All right, we did it. We rolled through all the games in an hour. I think we got everything. If you guys have any questions that we missed, again, I'll circle back before a puck drop. This is a night where you're really going to want to pay attention to news. It's going to be super valuable for you. I will have some point and assist props that I like in the FTN Bet tracker that we can take advantage of. Things worked out for us yesterday, close to puck drop, so hopefully we can find some edges when we do hear some news a little bit later on in the day with some of these players. I'll let you take it away. I know, again, it is a little bit of a weird day, but some stuff that you have on your card here tonight. What do you got?
All right. I got Victor Arvidsson, anytime scorer. Evander Kane, anytime scorer. Matt Boldy, anytime scorer. Matthew Tkachuk, anytime scorer. Ross Colton, anytime scorer. Nick Paul, anytime scorer. I've got that classic Sabres, New Jersey Devils.
Why not?
Team parlay to win.
1.
I got Barkov to be the first scorer if he plays. I feel that they're going to be wanting to get him the puck, and he's going to be the first time goal scorer. Sam Reinhart, anytime goal scorer. Brady Tkachuk, anytime goal scorer. Tim Stützle, Jeff Skinner, Tage Thompson, and the Buffalo Sabres to win.
Love it. I got the Sabres too at +240, 255. I do love that. I'm going to do the same thing. Why not? Let's do it collectively as a group here. Buffalo, New Jersey, sprinkle a little 0.25 or something on that one. I do think Buffalo +1.5 and New Jersey +1.5 is interesting as well. You can get that at +310. I do expect the Hurricanes to rest some guys, and I wouldn't be shocked if the Bruins rested a few players as well. And Sabres have just been playing really good hockey. I am going to shy away from Florida and Ottawa, but if the Panthers roll out a full lineup, excuse me, I'm a sucker for them when it comes to puck line stuff. So I will be intrigued if we can get that at plus money. But I do like the Edmonton Oilers here today. I like the Vancouver Canucks on home ice, and I have a lean to Minnesota, but we'll see what kind of lineups are out there. And then also maybe the under in Washington and New York. Again, I don't love unders, but if the Caps are going to rest a bunch of dudes, they're not going to score a lot of goals on Ilya Sorokin. I'll tell you that right now. Yes, we do have plans to do a playoff show, Steve. We do. I don't know when the Stanley Cup playoffs are going to start. I thought I heard Monday. I'm hoping it's going to be Tuesday or Wednesday. That way we can just come on here on Tuesday and do a Stanley Cup preview show. But we'll keep you up to date. We will be with you through the entire playoffs on Tuesdays and Thursdays. This show is also going to be on Game Plus Network for those who have Game Plus Network. And of course, Mean Streets will have a bit of a playoff preview, and we'll be covering hockey nonstop. I'll be covering it every day over at Mean Streets, and we'll have this show twice a week. And we may have just an all-out preview show. We'll see when the Stanley Cup playoffs do get underway. So for me, for shot props, Tage Thompson, Skinner, Drake Batherson, and Stützle are like plus money plays that I like. Oh my God, I didn't even mention Shabbat. I love Shabbat, right? We had Shabbat on Tuesday. He had 3 shots in the first 10 minutes of that hockey game. He also scored a goal. Shabbat would be one of my favorite plays again here tonight for 2.5 shots. Absolutely love that guy. That's like a 2-unit play for me. But I do like Stützle and Drake Batherson as some plus money guys. Stamkos is feeling it if he plays 2.5. Mangiapane at 1.5. Boldy at 2.5. And Chushkin 2.5. I love Evander Kane at 3.5 as well. And again, some value will happen when we hear that certain guys are going to sit, like Seth Jarvis potentially could be in play. Martin Necas is a guy that could be in play. Keep an eye on things, guys. FTN alerts on the Twitter machine. Follow that account. You get notified right away when the bet gets in. We'll be active in the Discord too. Leading up into the draft, it kind of will be MIA with the football draft happening, but I'll make sure I get those picks in early. Other guys will be active in the Discord with you as well. Kucherov plus money for 2 points. Tage Thompson minus 125 for a point. He's riding a 16-point streak. Hit the score sheet in 10 of his last 11. I think Tuck and Skinner certainly in play for a point. It goes hand in hand. It correlates really well. Most likely, if you get Thompson, you're going to get Skinner or Tuck as well. Love the Barkov call. We're both on Barkov tonight to shoot the puck and to score. 3 shots. Evander Kane plus 140 for an assist, and I like him to score as well. So a lot of action. I think this is an opportunity to have some fun and get outside your comfort zone. Maybe take some dogs and maybe take some guys to score, get a point that normally you wouldn't consider. Because today's going to be a little weird, and tomorrow's probably going to be even weirder for sure. EY, appreciate it. Yes, playoff stuff incoming. Loves playoffs personally for DFS and betting. And Daniel H, we got a lot of DFS content over at ftndaily.com. All right, EY, thanks so much. Enjoy the hockey tonight. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on the draft show this evening. George running the show. We appreciate you as well. And next time we talk, we'll be talking Stanley Cup playoffs. Have a good one, guys.
Let's go.